Hi, I'm Brooke Mabry, a member of the professional learning team at NWEA. Thanks for joining us for our next episode in our series, Strengthening Learning Teams in the Virtual World. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any videos in this series. Today's episode is focused on finding your virtual tools for teaching. And I'm joined by two educators from New Hampshire, Candi Fowler, who's a principal and a member of the virtual learning team here at NWEA, and one of her sixth grade teachers, Bob Pooler, who has been teaching for 14 years and 3 years ago just recently started teaching English internationally for grade school children. Bob is super passionate about finding the just right tech tool to help his students grasp the concepts he's trying to teach. He and Candi have learned quite a bit in their new normal of teaching students in a virtual world. So we're so excited to have them here today to share some of the things that they've learned with you. Thanks, Candi and Bob.
Hey, Brooke. Thanks for inviting us to be guests today. Bob and I are really excited. Candi here.
Bob here.
Yeah, so we have just been thinking about what could help other educators and what we've been going through. And I have to tell you, we've really had to shift our minds, right, about teaching in a brick and mortar versus the virtual.
It's a lot different. I mean, I've been teaching brick and mortar for almost 15 years, and I've been teaching virtually for almost 3 years, and there's a lot of differences between the two.
Yeah, and even just thinking about it and everything. So Bob and I got together and we started just thinking about, okay, what are some things that we've gone through and what can we help others with? And we came up with a little plan and we'd like to share with you today. So we want to help you build your remote teaching pedagogy. And that is just a fancy word. It's kind of fun. I like to say it. It took me a little while to learn how to say it, but basically it's just practices and methods that we can use during this, virtual time. And then just thinking about it, Bob and I were like, okay, well, what do we really want to be able to do? What did we want to do? So we want to, let you know that you'll be really successful after watching this video if you can just engage your learners through new tools and resources. And if you can record yourself using maybe lots of different ways, but we want to make sure that you're ensuring equity for your learners. And that was a big deal for us, right, Bob?
Absolutely. You got to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to access all the information that we're putting out there.
Yeah. And we were finding like not all of our kids had devices, not all of them have internet at the same time, and that the bandwidth is really bogging us down.
Yeah, bandwidth is huge for a lot of these families, and some families are sharing, like you said, one laptop, one Chromebook, one iPad between 3 children. So it may work for one student to be online doing a math class at 10 in the morning, whereas you have another student who might not get a chance to do their math work until later on that afternoon.
So I know what I've seen a few teachers do is kind of use different tools when they're recording themselves. But do you love that one?
I love this one. So it's low tech, but some of us have been lucky enough to bring home things from the classroom. So for me, I love my whiteboard in the classroom. Not a big fan of my chalkboard, but I love my whiteboard. So when I have my little study groups with the kids and we do want to go over some information real quick, I can quickly grab something like my whiteboard to go over the work. It is nice to have something physical to hold on to. Do you have anything that you use?
Well, I did not take home a whiteboard. So I devised this. This is my little, one of those, those plastic sleeve protectors. And I put inside here, I have a little piece of cardboard and some white paper. And I had to find a wipe off marker. This is like the old vis-a-vis from, the old days. I can, though, unlike you, flip mine over. So
yes, you can.
at least I don't have to like erase and then being like, okay, hold on, and kind of go across there. So that's been okay. I'm trying to look for a better way.
Yeah, so there's other ways. So, I mean, as much as I do like having the dry erase board, another thing that I miss from my classroom is a document camera. So a way for me to show the kids on screen something that I may not digitally have a copy of. So for instance, here, I just have a document that I might want to share with the kids. And while it looks on screen, like I'm just using a document camera here, what it actually is, so this is just my cell phone that has been elevated. It's being pinched between a bottle of soda and some cardboard boxes just to give it some weight to hold it in place. And what it does is it allows it to have that elevation that you would get from a document camera. And the good news is I can still show things off on my document. I can slide out. So this is great for math classes, for drawing on your geometrical shapes, for digraphing sentences in your English classes. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use something as simple as a cell phone as a document camera.
So you just kind of have it like wedged in between it and just like the camera part sticking out.
Yeah,
wow.
It's just pinched in place.
So you had to like download the Zoom app or something like that on your phone?
I did. So I just downloaded Zoom. So that's the platform that our district uses that we've been really getting a lot of great use out of. And when I join the Zoom class with whatever group of students that I'm working with, I'll join on my main laptop, and then I'll also join on my cell phone just as a second person. And then I can pull in that document camera,
right?
and the video feed when I need it, and then put it away when I don't.
So the other thing that I was thinking about too is, you know, when you want to show something, that's great. But sometimes we just want to record some screen captures. And what it's been really helping me do is create these little videos that help somebody see what I'm doing online. So you can hear my voice. You can also choose, when you're using a platform to record your screen, you can also put your face on here. So I could just record my screen or my screen and my camera. But what I really like is watch what happens when I move my cursor around. Yeah. Yeah, and take a look at that. Like you can totally see that little yellow cursor piece. And I think it draws people's eyes to what I'm doing. And I like Screencast-O-Matic because you can get the free version and it allows you to record yourself up to 15 minutes. So there's another place called Screencast-ify, but it's shorter, like just 4 minutes, and you have to buy the basic plan. So I don't know about you, but 4 minutes is kind of short for me.
It's hard to do much explanation in 4 minutes. So I do like Screencast-ify. It's great. 15 minutes is plenty of time. I mean, that's generally what we're spending in the classroom on direct instruction before we would break out to do some independent work or some guided work.
So let's talk a little bit about, you know, now that we know how to record ourselves, we can use that fake document camera as your cell phone. And then we can also use the Screencast-O-Matic, Screencast-ify. So let's think about what are some tools that can enhance your teaching. I did find a tool called Lexile Analyzer at lexile.com. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but one of the things that you could do as a teacher is, because it's electronic, you could paste some words in this Lexile Analyzer and it would tell you what level kids are writing at. So I just got some words off the internet and decided to Lexile them. And you can see that this student's writing is at 1,000 to 1,200. Well, if this is one of your students, you might want to push them to write better, or it might be really hard for you to see maybe just the little nuances, like, are they getting better, right? I think some of our weaker writers, it's easy to see, oh, wow, you have much longer length. But sometimes our kids who are just writing at these amazing levels already, how do we start tweaking that for them? So a Lexile is just really a readability measure. And it's going to kind of look at the sentence length, and it's going to look at vocabulary. Longer sentences, better vocabulary, higher Lexile score. Oh, and it's free, just saying. Totally free. And here is something that probably teachers have seen. You probably all have seen News ELA, where you can get lots of different articles and they're Lexiled at different places. This is the same kind of site, but with Smithsonian. And I do love it because you can get 4 different levels of articles. When you click on it and you decide which article you want to click on, you can go ahead and assign it to your Google Classroom. And then I'm sure that there are other features, like you could download it and maybe upload it to different virtual platforms you're using. If you want to see a different level of that, you just click the different Lexile, and it just kind of goes back and forth. And I think that there's also maybe a little bit of hardness going on with math.
It's hard. I miss having my physical manipulatives that I can use to show the kids, you know, how, let's say, fraction strips. Fraction strips are huge, and they really help the kids understand, you know, a difficult concept. You know, it'd be great if there was something out there.
So what I like to do is, this is something I can share with my students when I'm online, but it's also free. So kids could go there on their own and play around with it. So if I said, order these fractions, they could start to say, okay, well, 2/12, right? How many, what's that is this one bigger than 2/12 or not? Like, and start to see on their own, do you have some favorites?
I do. So as a teacher, I mean, we all have our Google Drives are filled to the brim with Google Docs that have been used to create quizzes, to create tests. Now, in the past, we've just taken these quizzes and tests, we've printed them out, and we've been able to physically hand them to the kids. But one of the problems that we have now is they don't always translate as well virtually as they did physically in the past. So I found an add-on for Google. It's called Docs to Forms. So you can actually take what was on that Google Doc, and now you can turn it into a Google form.
So
And
if you already had it, you don't have to wow.
So here's a weather and climate quiz that we gave to our students. And this was all typed into a Word document first. And then using Docs to Forms, we were able to convert it into a Google form that is multiple choice. The kids can answer. And what I really like about Google Forms is it will also grade the quizzes for you. And then it can allow you to kind of go deeper into the data once it comes through. You can see kind of the distribution of your test scores. You can look at specific questions to see where your students might have been hung up. So for instance, my students really were back and forth between this, these two answers to this one question, where I had most students, 8 of them answered incorrectly, 7 correctly, and then I had the one outlier. So that's a good place for me to then go back through in my teaching and revisit and try to, find where that gap was and how we can fix it.
Yeah, I love that. And it looks like you can click and see who got it right, click to see who got it wrong. And then you can also see, well, is it my wording? Obviously,
Yes.
It was pretty clear, like, okay, it's not this, it's that. But what kids were kind of not maybe holding on to. And it grades it. So do the kids get their grade right at the end, or?
You can set that yourself. So you can decide if you want to release it right away. You can decide if you want to wait to review yourself. So depending on the style of questions that you're asking, if you're asking all multiple choice, it's really not a problem for the kids to know what they got for a score as soon as they're finished taking the quiz. But sometimes you have the ability to do short answer, to do longer, essay style questions. But as a teacher, you just go into that Google form afterwards, you read through the responses the kids gave you, and then you can assign them on whatever points it is that you're working with, the number of points you feel that they earned for that question based on your rubric, and then you can release all of the scores in one shot.
Oh, I love that. So you just go right in, decide, and then they get that final score. Oh,
absolutely.
And I noticed that on the screen when you were sharing, it has a little like Google slide or Excel sheet. So
yes,
you can just download all the answers right into like a grade book or something.
Absolutely. Yep. And it correlates with your Google Classroom. So you can do it either way. You can bring it out as an Excel spreadsheet. You could just import the grades into Google Classroom. It works both ways. It works with free accounts. It works with school accounts. You just have to make sure with your, your SAU's administration that you're able to add in some of these Chrome extensions. And if you personally can't do it, I'm sure that your building administrators or someone in the IT department can help you out with that.
See if you can get those permissions, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I love sort of that recycling. You've already created it. It's good. It's worked in the past, or it's worked. What you're working with your current student, and how can you just make it into a virtual thing? That's right. That's great. I hope a lot of people use that, because it sounds like that would save a lot of time. So we've been talking a little bit about ways to enhance your teaching. Do you have any favorites, maybe just to kind of enrich the teaching?
Yeah, so there's lots of things that you can do to enrich your learning, enrich your teaching. One of the ways that I love to do that is through web quests. So web quests are just this wonderful, wonderful way to give the kids ownership to really enrich the work that they're doing. So on my website, I put a lot of our curriculum there so that the parents and the students have access to it, whether they're at school or they're at home. So it has been almost ready for remote learning before remote learning was really a thing for them. So part of their curriculum is actually these web quests and social studies that I have created in the past for the kids. And what I have here is just, it goes through our personal state standards here in New Hampshire, but it then gives the kids some links to visit. And what's nice about these links is they're interactive. It's not just reading out of a textbook or reading off of a screen. They are going through and they're taking virtual tours. They are seeing how the mummification process, in our case, worked out. So it's going to be much more interactive and just much more fun for the kids than to simply just go through and answer static questions.
So they do have to kind of go on this webcast to answer these questions you have, but you've given them the link so that, here's the question. You don't have to go do a Google search. All the things that you just had up there kind of relate to what's down here.
Yes, absolutely.
Love
so all
it.
the questions down below relate to everything that's up above. So it's all shared with them in one piece. And then there's the takeaway, documents that they can also print out to look at if they'd like to as well. And what's nice about these is it's all up front. The kids know exactly what the expectations are. They have access to rubrics. They have access to how they're going to be evaluated across the board on things. So it's a really good way to not only kind of flip that classroom model where they're learning while they are doing, but it's also going to give them a lot more of that responsibility over their own learning as well, which I'm a huge fan of.
And it looks like that's an open site. So can everybody go there?
They can go to bobpooler.com. They can take a look at the things that I do on my website. And if they have questions, they can reach out to me.
Yeah. So cooperation means graduation, right? Like let's share, because all of us win. All of us get that end of the year, check mark. And I really appreciate you. That's awesome. Like that's a lot of work in there. And so you just opening up and sharing it is going to save a lot of time for a lot of people.
Labor of love.
Labor of love. I know. Do you have any others that are like your favorite?
I do. So I have a 5-year-old, and so he's in kindergarten, and through his teachers, I've actually found some great resources that I've been able to push out to my own 6th graders. So even though there's a big age gap there, there's still a lot of fun websites to be had. And one of them is called Storyline Online. So this is a website that is in partnership with the Screen Actors Guild. So these picture books, which it doesn't matter how old you are, everybody loves picture books. So these picture books are read to you by actors and actresses. So Chris O'Dowd, Sarah Silverman. There's lots and lots of books here. Ernest Borgnine has one. His is one of my favorites. The Rainbow Fish he performed, but it's done in a style
classic, right?
It reminded me of reading Rainbow. So it shows the person reading the story. They really get into character. They really put the voices in there. There's a lot of effort and a lot of work that's being done for these stories. And it's a lot of fun. And you can really just lose yourself and watch video after video after video and enjoy yourself.
So do you just pick one maybe and link it to your virtual classroom, or do you just?
You can. So you can link them directly to your classroom, because each story will have its own URL link.
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that is hard is there's a lot of great resources out there. So I'll show you the one that I added this week. This Amplify, they sent me a link about free resources. And I've been noticing that it's maybe a little bit harder to find science things out there, So I did find, these videos, but I will tell you this, what I like about it is it's teachers helping teachers. These are like teachers from different districts who are just kind of recording a lesson. And if it goes along with your lesson, like you can see here, it's grades 1 through 5, but we also have, if you go back, you can see the 6 through 8 ones. And I know for our curriculum, I've seen you guys talk about atmosphere, right? I've seen you put together those weather patterns. So it might behoove us, right? That whole thing like cooperation means graduation. These teachers are doing the same thing that we are. And if they've got it and we don't have to do that, but we can still add our own take on it, I think that that's really great teaching as well.
Absolutely.
Enhancing that. So I'll keep looking around for those types of things for us. We do have a teacher, Jamie Goff.
Yeah, of course, 4th grade.
One of 4th grade teachers. She has been loving virtual field trips. And what she's finding, and this is just a little bit about in her classroom, is when her kids are finished their work, some kids want to do more. Other kids are like, I can't take anymore, right? And they're going outside. But some of our students are loving just learning about different things, you know, like that power half hour where I can learn anything I want. So she's found a way to kind of connect that. Does fourth grade do Pompeii? Absolutely not, right? Do they kind of study America and government in New Hampshire? Sure. But we don't really get to the Statue of Liberty or what's in the White House. But just finding some really cool things that are age appropriate is another kind of great way to enhance your learning. You know, I don't know. Do you guys have any in sixth grade? You guys have some virtual field trips, I bet.
We do. So actually this Friday, the kids are going to be traveling to ancient Egypt. So we have some museums in Egypt that have set up their own walking tours, essentially. So it's going to look similar to a Google Street View, if anyone is familiar with Google Earth. But they also have set up some 360-degree cameras in some of the tombs. So if some of the families might have some virtual reality set up at home, they can put on their headsets. Otherwise, they can do it on the laptop. But you can get a 360-degree tour of some of these tombs that you can find in ancient Egypt. So it's really exciting. And during our meeting this morning as a class, the kids were really excited, and they were asking if they were allowed to take the field trip before Friday. So
see,
that's a good sign.
You got that student engagement. And I'm just thinking too, that even though this might be not like the best thing we thought about, I think we're finding some really positives in all of this. We might not have done that in our classrooms, right? We might not have taken the time to watch this video, and you know, like that learning by doing is really helping a lot of students.
Yeah.
You know, so I see potential for when we're back in our buildings too, right? Like we could probably do some amazing blending now, right?
Oh,
now that we didn't get any classes on it yet, but we are starting to just kind of build that and feel a little bit better on some things, right?
Yeah.
You know, I did find some other pieces. You know, we're always talking about reading. And I think when we left the building, we thought, oh, we'd be out for, 3 weeks, or maybe we thought until the end of April when we would be coming back. You know, that was like 6 weeks. And now we found out, like other people around the country, we're not coming back to school this year. Well, we didn't send home enough books, I don't think. One of the things that we are looking at is how can we get books into the hands of kids? And so I found this site. It's called archive.org. And literally you have a full book here that has just been put into an electronic format. So it can feel like some kids are flipping that book, right? And that's one way we can just take this link. We can put it in our Google Classroom. We can have everybody have the book. Even though it's all at the same Lexile level, we could work with small groups of kids and support them different ways. And then that got me thinking about, okay, so what if kids want books to read? What if they read all the books in their house? So then I found this piece here for Open Library, where you could go and you can just get a book to check out. It's a free, simple sign up. And it might be another way for parents to kind of get books in the hands of kids, or even for teachers to assign different books for different.
I like that a lot. That's a really good resource.
Right. And then the last thing I just thought about is, if you didn't know it, Audible opened up all of their books for kids. And you can, pick what the level you want. Looks like there's some other languages here too, which is great. And if you kind of go in here, it's not anything fancy. There's no pictures to look at. It's literally just a voice talking. And that got me thinking about listening comprehension.
Yeah.
Because right now they're watching a lot and they're reading a lot, and we want them to, take that reading and do something with it. But this could be a great way to have some listening. So, Bob, I think there's a lot out there.
There's a lot out there. We just have to take the time to find it.
Yeah. So we hope you've enjoyed this. We certainly have loved just exploring, although not all the time as much, right? It was like really, it's really hard sometimes to, put it all together. But we hope that you have learned a little bit more about the pedagogy, right? And those just practices and methods. We hope that at the end of this, you can certainly get some new tools, and we're going to have those new tools listed for you. And that we hope you consider recording yourself so that you can get equity to all your students. Yeah, it's going to be great. All right, so we're going to try to keep changing the educational world one video at a time, right, Bob?
Absolutely, can't ask for more than that.
Hey, Brooke, thanks a lot. See you guys later.
Thank you very much, Brooke.
Thank you so much, Candi and Bob. I think all of the ideas that you shared are really practical for teachers right now. My favorite thing that I learned was how to turn your cell phone into a document camera. I'm sure that there are a lot of teachers out there that would like to use that trick as well. So how about you? What did you learn today that you want to try out in your classroom? Or what are some of the tools that you've found or tips and tricks that you would like to share with others? Be sure to tweet at NWEA or at Brooke Mabry 21 and let us know what you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We'll see you next time.